In the heart of a bustling town, where the hum of morning traffic mingled with the chatter of students streaming into Lincoln High, the courtyard was a mosaic of cliques and laughter. The late September sun cast long shadows across the cracked pavement, where Ethan Caldwell, a 16-year-old with a quick wit and an electric wheelchair, navigated his way toward first period. His chair hummed softly, a familiar sound to his classmates, who admired his resilience despite the spinal injury that had changed his life 2 years prior. Ethan's eyes sparkled with quiet determination, his backpack stuffed with books and dreams of becoming an engineer. But not everyone saw his strength, some saw only a target. Zach, Cole, and Drew, 3 seniors known for their swagger and sharp tongues, lounged by the courtyard's lone oak tree, their voices carrying a mocking edge. Zach, the ringleader, tossed a football between his hands, his grin sharp as a blade. "Hey, Wheels," he called out, loud enough for heads to turn. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he kept moving, ignoring the nickname that stung like a slap. Cole, lean and restless, smirked and stepped into Ethan's path, forcing him to stop. "What's the rush, man? Got a race to lose?" Drew, the quiet one, chuckled darkly, egging Cole on. The courtyard grew quieter, students slowing their steps, sensing trouble brewing. Ethan met Zach's gaze, his voice steady. "Just trying to get to class, guys. Move." Zach laughed, a hollow sound, and nudged Cole. "Hear that? Kid thinks he's tough." Before Ethan could react, Cole shoved the side of his wheelchair, hard. The chair tipped, and Ethan hit the ground with a thud, his books scattering like fallen leaves. A collective gasp rose from the crowd, but no one moved, fear and uncertainty rooting them in place. Zach towered over Ethan, sneering. "Oops. Guess you slipped." Ethan's hands shook as he pushed himself up, pain shooting through his arms, but his eyes burned with defiance. "You're pathetic," he spat, his voice cutting through the tension. The words only fueled Zach's anger. He stepped closer, raising a fist, when a deep, gravelly voice sliced through the air like a thunderclap. "Enough." Every head turned. Striding across the courtyard, his black leather jacket catching the sunlight, was Jason, a rugged stranger with a commanding presence. Whispers rippled through the crowd, some swore he was a local hero, others said he was just passing through. Whatever the reason, his presence was electric, commanding the space like a storm rolling in. Zach froze, his fist still raised, as Jason's boots crunched against the pavement. Jason's eyes, sharp and unyielding, locked onto the bullies. "You 3, he said, his British accent clipped and cold, "step back. Now." Cole and Drew shuffled backward, their bravado crumbling under the weight of his stare. Zach, stubborn, held his ground for a moment before wilting. Jason knelt beside Ethan, his movements precise but gentle, and gripped the wheelchair, riding it with ease. He offered Ethan a hand, his expression softening. "You all right, mate?" Ethan, still catching his breath, nodded. "Yeah. Thanks." Jason's gaze lingered, assessing, then he stood, turning to the trio. "You think pushing someone around makes you strong?" His voice was low, dangerous. "It makes you cowards. Weak." Zach opened his mouth to argue, but Jason cut him off. "Don't. You've done enough damage." The courtyard was silent, the air thick with anticipation. Jason gestured to Ethan's scattered books. "Pick them up," he ordered the bullies. Cole hesitated, glancing at Zach, but Jason's stare didn't waver. "Now." One by one, they complied, gathering the books and handing them to Ethan, their faces flushed with shame. Drew mumbled a shaky, "sorry," but Jason wasn't done. "You don't just say sorry," he said, crossing his arms. "You make it right. You think about why you did this, and you fix that part of yourself. Starts today." He turned to Ethan, his tone shifting to something warmer. "And you're tougher than they'll ever be. Don't let anyone tell you different. Ethan managed a small smile, his heart pounding with a mix of relief and awe. The crowd, still watching, began to murmur, some clapping softly, others nodding. Jason's words weren't just for Ethan or the bullies, they were for everyone. A teacher, Miss Harper, pushed through the crowd, her face a mix of shock and gratitude. Jason, how did you? Was passing by, he said simply, though his eyes suggested there was more to the story. Heard there was trouble. Thought I'd sort it out. He looked back at Zach, Cole, and Drew, who stood like scolded children. You lot, with me. We're having a chat with the principal. As Jason led the trio away, Ethan felt a weight lift. Classmates approached, some offering apologies for not stepping in, others asking if he was okay. A girl named Mia, who'd always been kind but quiet, knelt beside him. That was insane, she said, her eyes wide. You were so brave, Ethan. He shrugged, embarrassed but grateful. Just didn't want to let them win. Inside the principal's office, Jason didn't sit. He stood, arms crossed, as Principal Nguyen listened to the story. Zach, Cole, and Drew shifted uncomfortably in their chairs, their usual swagger gone. They need consequences, Jason said, his voice firm but not cruel. Not just punishment, something that makes them think. Community service, maybe. Let them see what it's like to help, not hurt. Nguyen nodded, jotting notes. And a program, Jason added. This school needs one. Teach kids about respect, empathy. Not just words, action. He glanced at the boys. Start with them. Over the next weeks, the school transformed. The bullies were assigned to volunteer at a local rehab center, where they met others with challenges like Ethan's. Zach, initially resentful, found himself listening to a veteran who'd lost his legs in combat, his stories of resilience humbling him. Cole bonded with a young girl learning to use prosthetics, her courage quietly reshaping his perspective. Drew, the quietest, wrote Ethan a letter, admitting his shame and vowing to change. Ethan, meanwhile, became a quiet leader. With Mia's help, he started a peer group for inclusivity, where students shared stories and ideas to make the school better. Jason's visit lingered like a legend, but his real impact was the spark he'd ignited, a ripple of kindness and accountability that spread beyond the courtyard. One crisp morning, as Ethan wheeled into school, he found a note taped to his locker. No signature, just a scrawled message, "Thanks for showing us what strength looks like." He smiled, tucking it into his bag. The courtyard, once a place of fear, now felt like a beginning, a place where respect wasn't just preached, but lived. And somewhere, maybe in a car speeding to his next destination, Jason grinned, knowing he'd left more than a story behind. He'd left a lesson that would outlast the headlines, etched into a school that would never be the same.